I'm currently dating a girl who's bisexual, and she is in an open relationship with a guy, and they have been dating for, it'll be a year September. He is also bisexual, but he hasn't had any romantic male partners, but he has experimented. And so I've been seeing her for about a month and just kind of getting in. This is my first time ever trying open relationship. And at first it was casual, so I didn't think too much about it. But now that it's evolving to a more emotional realm where it's not casual anymore, I don't know what to call it. The big question is of course, does this work? But more specifically, is it possible for one person to emotionally manage two main partners? It seems like there always has to be a hierarchy, like a one primary partner, and then if you have a secondary person involved, do they automatically fall under a sort of less important or less of a priority? Or how much effort am I going to put into this? Is it ever possible that I would reach the same level of partnership as her current male partner?
So, first of all, none of the dramas that are part and parcel of relationship that are heterosexual are out of order here. I experienced them, especially in the last 10 to 15 years, with multiple polyamorous people. I discovered that in spades. So the same issues, the same ego jealousies, the same ego competitions, the same ego demands, the same ego misunderstandings, the same ego scripted stuff that is not finished, is all operating. Only the problem is it's operating in triad rather than just dyad. And so the trouble is double and triple and even quadruple because of the size of the dynamic. Based on that, continue to ask. So what does that mean then? What further would you ask than that?
Especially since I'm on the spiritual path of growing and wanting to be more independent and not work off my ego needs. Is there a way to frame it that even if I am like a secondary partner, that's okay and to not want more?
Yes, of course. In fact, that's one of the things that you would, as a spiritual seeker, which you're naming yourself, and you are, in addition to a human seeker of knowledge and survival in this dimension, yes, there's plenty to learn, especially if you frame this within that spiritual component, and that spiritual box, so to speak. Because at this level it is a box, because it's the spiritual is mixed up with the psychological, mixed up with the heavy ego, and all of the samskaras and urges and dramas that are part and parcel of that. So if you frame it from a higher order, yes, you'll have a better go of it, because you won't be so attached to certain specific ego outcomes, expected ego outcomes. In fact, I recommend relationship that is broad and open for people to discover more quickly where their scripted stuff is holding them back and become more free. And that's the whole basis for relationship, is to ultimately become free enough that unity works, if I may say it that way. However, that's the yay positive side. The negative side is that these multiple dramas cause a lot of trouble and heartache, and polarities are pulling in many different directions, not just positive and negative alone, but they're pulling in other directions, and you can feel the forces, because you have to consider then multiple expectations, multiple demands, multiple injuries. So the do no harm concept figures in just as it would anywhere else. Can you say, well, I don't intend any harm, but harm is going to get done just because I know that. I don't intend to have an accident, but certainly I've had accidents, and they've been a lot of trouble. But I didn't intend any, and I would avoid them if I could. But just like driving a car, you cannot always avoid an accident in relationship. And if you have started it and retained the original breadth of understanding and planned outcome, and you are carrying with you sufficient amount of practiced non-attachment to outcome, well, what better can you have? So launch it. But again, the whole operation is fraught with opportunities for ego to sneakily get its way, or to manipulate. But that's part of life. I mean, that's going on all the time. This is just a bigger dynamic of it. So I know that didn't necessarily answer all your questions, but that's a general statement about, yeah, you can't let the fact that you might have an accident keep you from driving.
Yeah, I have noticed that since this is transitioned out of casual, it does take up a lot more mental headspace to kind of do all the mental calculations. And sometimes I think I reached it recently where I was like, this is just so much to think about. There's so many people and dynamics, and that's when I was like, is it worth it? You know, but it's a challenge.
It's a challenge, and is it worth it is a good question. Is it worth it based on where you are in your particular evolution of consciousness? That's a big question. It may be, it may not be worth it based on where you are in your particular evolution of your consciousness.
Well, up till now, I have noticed a lot of moments where I had to be operating at a higher order in order to not fall prey to my ego needs. So that already has proved to me like this is good. It's been challenging, but it's been good.
Heightened awareness will help you get through it. Practicing heightening your awareness will help you get through it even better. I think one of the main ways we could do that most simply is say, set your course based on a manifesto, your own manifesto that says, this is the way I will operate. This operation I'm doing, this relationship building is all for being poured into the bigger eternal unity pot rather than just the little time I have and the little space I have and the little experiences I have with somebody.
See, that's where I'm running into the issue of working at this manifesto, because I'm running against my old model of what I thought like the dream partner was, or dream partner dynamic was, and up till recently it's always been monogamous and exclusive, and so that comes with a different amount of like conversation time spent together and all that stuff, which has obviously drastically dwindled. How do I manage the ego that still thinks that it wants that main partner role while still practicing non-attachment and being content and satisfied with this, using this as a path to a higher order liberation?
I liken it to what I call a duck walk. A duck doesn't walk right straight forward. It kind of waddles to the left and to the right. You understand?
Yes.
And so it makes its way, it gets there, but it's a walking tack. You know, it's sailing diagonally and then it's sailing diagonally the other direction. And so it takes a little of this, takes a little of that. And so if that's not trouble enough, sometimes you have to duck walk backwards. Right. And so you work your way through. And does ego get hurt? Do you have feelings and do you have... Yes, ego gets hurt and you do have feelings and you do suffer. But if you are always intent that this is because of a higher purpose, you can always waddle your way back to the center, and then you're going to go off again and again, and sometimes you get off the path entirely, like wander and bring yourself back. But if your ultimate purpose is based on that final freedom and unity, like the Tibetan Book of the Dead, you know, wanting final release, or the Buddhist idea of final release. You perform, you know, a good intention. You make your world set in that direction. And also where you find you're having more trouble, where you're finding there's more drama, setting an even more stable center of intention and keep returning to it. And then you apply all of the techniques that you've been taught, certainly that I've taught you, of making sure that you don't let automatic negative thoughts take hold of you, having really good, quick steps to counter them and replace them. For example, you have a relationship, you've been involved in a relationship with a triad or quad or whatever, and things are going fairly well and you're feeling better and you're getting a little bit you're waddling a little bit toward, hey, this is really good. I'm really kind of loving her and she's kind of loving me. Waddle, waddle. And then something happens where she does something which busts up at least part of your assumption based on this particular left wing waddle. You are struck, jealousy, hurt, whatever. loss, and all kinds of negative thinking about what this might mean, how you are going to lose from this loss there is to you, and you let that begin to invade your thinking, then you're off the track. You have to do the waddle back again and say, aha, I knew this was coming. I've prepared for this. I must eliminate this thought immediately and back myself up to a safer place of thinking that this is part of the program, and I am still worthy of love, and remind yourself of all of those concepts that are good. So waddle away. See, so you're a little bit going away from her or whoever.
I noticed that was one thing to center myself, was that I had to almost like pretend we weren't a thing in order to get back to a center, and like without trying to go too much to fantasy, but to kind of say that's the main partnership, her and him, and then I'll go back to my cocoon, my meditation cocoon.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So center yourself again, and by waddling to the right a little bit. So you're still going forward. You're still doing fine. You didn't get caught this time. But once you get caught, then you dive down and you're off the path. And you're down the path. And you will have to traverse it all the way back again and work through all of those feelings and poor me and whatever. Once back on the track, waddling toward the spiritual, you're stronger again. And they will know it at some level, not consciously, but they will know it at some level. Yesterday, I worked with somebody, day before yesterday, Friday, I worked with somebody along these lines, helping them understand this concept of how you can lose. We think what it was a moment. So you tack to the right a little bit more. This almost always awakens the other person. You don't know it, and you don't think it's happening, but it is. The other person is awakening and feels that. Doesn't know that that's what happened, just begins thinking about you differently because you have made that change. That's the whole idea behind simultaneity, where this is happening in more than just one brain and one mind. So when you turn away, the other person immediately knows. I did tell someone the other day, I was teaching her how to manage this kind of thing, and I said, and by the way, now that you've taken that turn, you will hear from him trying to test you. Oh, it was a mother and a son. And she was indulging him, and he was abusing her. And so I had her write a manifesto to him saying, this is the way, I will only accept this kind of treatment from you as my son. If you don't treat me that way, then I will continue to withdraw from you. I love you. And she said, wow, that's great. She wrote the manifesto. She had it all out. It was great. She said, so I'm going to deliver this. I said, yes, you are. I said, but before you get it to him, you can be pretty sure he will be contacting you shortly to ask for some kind of concession from you. And she understood that. She said, you mean at some level he's picking this up? I said, yes, and he will be calling you. And sure enough, he called and he asked her for a special credit card dispensation for a bunch of money. And she was able to say, no, that's not the way you treat your mother anymore, is using her and not living beyond your means. No. And I did not accept that. As me, I did not accept that. Texted me and said, my God, he called me like the same, within 3-4 hours, he was on the phone with me saying, from another state, saying, hey, can I use your credit card to buy this $1,000, $2,000 thing? So you can be sure when you correct your course that because of simultaneity, that is also influencing the other person, the other people as well. No matter what, even if they don't contact, that's going on, right? You can be sure of it. What's another word for that from physics? Entanglement. Entanglement. So that's psychological and psycho-spiritual entanglement that everybody knows. It's like Jesus when he said, whatever you say in secret will be shouted from the rooftop. Meaning, nothing's really hidden, except that we try to hide it from ourselves. The only reason I know something is because I'm not hiding it from myself. But if I did, I would be able to give you all the answers. So as much as I would hide, or anybody would hide, they're going to be short the answers. It's the same with coaching or therapy. When you eventually do therapy, it will be the same way. If you are a good therapist, you will have cleaned up a lot of business. And you will therefore be able to convey the feeling to the client or the patient that you have no problem with that area. But let's say you haven't cleaned up one little area. The moment that client goes into that area to look at it, you will feel the countertransference and she will feel it as well. Same here. So I don't know that I've answered your question. There may be more.
Yeah, this is all really good, but it brought up a really specific question that I haven't had an answer to. And I've been asked this twice by her already. And she's always asking, you know, what are your needs? Are you getting all that you need? And I always say, I'm doing fine. Like, I don't need any more. This is okay. And I've been doing that, and I wasn't sure if I'm doing that because I don't want to be afraid to ask for anything in fear that that'll push her away, or if I'm doing that for my higher order, being like, no, if I have an issue, I'm dealing with that because of my own scripted stuff and my own inner ego, and I'm not going to ask you to fix it. That's like my stuff to fix. And I haven't given that response because I'm still seeing what's worth saying out loud to that in response to that question, or if it's just all in me.
Would it be a problem if it were both?
To say all that to her?
Pardon?
What do you mean by both?
You said, I don't know if it's this.
Oh yeah. It probably is both.
Would it be a problem if it was?
No, that's just the waddle, I guess.
Yeah, that's just the waddle.
So would the higher order response to her, though, still be saying everything's fine, and then, well, not everything's fine, but...
The truth.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything's fine, but this is still out, but I'm handling it, I'm taking care of it. Mm-hmm. And the truth about it. Because the higher order still has a framework to it. The higher answer still has a framework to it that is still involved in this world. So let's do this again. Ask the question again.
That I've been asked this question twice by her, and I haven't had an answer. And that question is, are your needs being met? Is there anything you're missing? And I haven't had a truthful response. I've been kind of keeping it tame because I didn't know whether if I did respond with a certain need, that'd be ego, or if it's a higher order just to say.
So let's go to the human higher order and you say, and what is it that you could want from her that you didn't, that you wouldn't, that you're not disclosing?
That's where I get stuck. I don't know what I even would
All right, let's find it through her. Mm-hmm. Look at her. Now pretend you know, because you do. What is she reading that she keeps that up? What is she reading that is unfinished or incomplete in you with regard to her that she keeps asking?
I mean, if she's just comparing, like,
let's look at it from her perspective now. Let's try a little further.
Okay.
What does she need that she keeps asking you the same question? What is her asking you that question over and over conveying about what she needs from you?
Well, I don't know. That's the thing. She never asked me for anything.
Oh, she's wanting something from you. Very, very specific. When she says, is there anything I can do for you? Are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you? What does she want? What's she missing? Let's look at it from that perspective. What's she missing? What's she afraid of?
Well, one thing she disclosed to me yesterday was that she asked, would you rather be with someone that's gay?
So my question still responds, what's she afraid of?
That I'm going to lose interest.
Yeah.
And so she's asking to make sure I'm still interested.
And she wants to do whatever you need it to be done in order to solidify that. Can you see that now?
Yeah, I think it's my own little ego that can't believe, that says like, you're not enough for someone to go, but like to that extent to want that.
And the you're not enough may even be a component that prompts her to do that.
Yeah, like picking up on that. Yeah. Well, yeah, because I don't ask for anything, so that's probably.
So, a lot of components in her then, I shouldn't say that, a lot of motivations in her then operating. How am I doing with you? How are you doing with me? I'm feeling you're not feeling that you're enough for me. I want you to know that you are. Therefore, is there anything you're missing from me? So all of these motives, as I said, the dynamic gets crazy. Just in one person, the number of motivations that are back there. Put the two of them together and we have a snowstorm of different motivations flying around. And all the while, ego trying to hide them or disguise them so as not to be hurt or hurt. That's very noble, that's good, but still, we want to know that so we can get to them and say, let's, like I said to somebody again this last week, what's the problem with hurting your friend with the truth? Tell me what the problem is. She said, I can't tell her the truth because I would hurt her. Uh-huh. Yeah, you would. Maybe. And what's the problem with that?
I could see the risk of not wanting to be left, like by the person. If you hurt them, they can get offended and be like, well,
I want to hear that. I want to hear that. So then you would say to me, based on my fear of her possibly being offended, I'm going to withhold the truth from her. So fine. If that's your position, say that. Make that statement so we're all on the same page. Then you deal with that. But it isn't very long before that's going to crash, because the truth does come out eventually. So then maybe it comes down to the manner of presentation of the truth. How can you present the truth in such a way that it does as little damage as possible? Because the truth does damage. The truth, oh my God, the truth does damage. But it ultimately heals. So how can I present the truth to you in such a way that it will not only not harm you, but it will help, it will serve you and heal you? Well, I can start with that presentation for one thing.
Just say what you mean.
Just say, this is what I want to do. I want to say tell you the truth, but I don't want to hurt you. And so when you're ready for it, I'm ready to tell you. So I think all those motives are going on and more. Those are just the most prominent ones that are there. When people say, it's pretty obvious. What can I do for you? What are you missing? If you could summarize her words, those type of words in one sentence for her, what would it be?
In answering the question, what are your needs?
Yeah.
Well, I guess her question is really, do you want someone who knows what they're doing in the realm of gayness? Like, that's her biggest concern, I think.
Okay, so, and that means her?
Huh? Her, yeah.
I mean, she's the one that knows what they're doing.
That she doesn't feel like she knows what she's doing.
Oh, so the question would be, do you want someone who knows what they're doing? I
Yes.
don't.
Oh yeah, that's And she said that without hiding. Yeah.
Maybe sheepishly or not? Like, I don't.
No, I mean,
Do you want someone who knows more what they're doing?
yeah, I mean, her exact words were, do you wish you were with someone who was gay? Meaning, knows what they're doing. And this was in bed, so it's clearly, we know what it's about. And so she feels lost in that realm.
So then she feels insecure about her performance in your relationship?
Yeah, and I have taken care of that.
You assure her,
I assure her.
but she doesn't quite buy it, or she doesn't.
Not yet.
It doesn't really completely satisfy her.
No, but
Assure her, I should say.
yeah, and I think the way that I've done a better job at that is by saying we should open up a conversation about it during, instead of just kind of just like letting it happen and everything happening in the quiet unconsciously and just there, and then afterwards it's when the words come out. But to go through it and like speak out, I don't know what I'm doing, what do you like, and go through things like that to make it very open and comfortable to speak about those things.
Or buy a book that talks about these things, or to come to someone like me who is a sex therapist who could say, here's some things for you to do. Here's some things that will start to enrich your relationship, your sexual relationship.
And I've told, it's not that, just because you're gay doesn't mean you'll automatically have a good sex experience with another person that's gay. You have to have, and I told her, I was like, I prefer connection than just someone who has experience. That doesn't mean it's gonna feel good just because they know they've done it with other people. And it's a skill more than just an innate knowledge.
It is a skill, and that's why in the Loyola program that I taught at and learned in that program, it's a 6-month training to learn how to deal with sex. Things like sensate focus and other techniques to help the couple, gay or whatever they were or not, help them be truthful in their communication, but not overwhelming by showing the truth. A lot of it, there's a whole component that's nonverbal, where you do nonverbal exercises and you show the other person rather than talk about it.
That's where what we're gonna do next time, because she was like, well, is there anything you could tell me now? And I was like, it's kind of hard to just, it has to be like in the moment.
Yeah. And show and tell. So that's another one. Have I talked to you about Jack Moran's book?
Yeah, The Erotic Mind.
Oh, you have. I have already. Okay.
But now that we're talking it out, I do have, there's the hidden, I could see what she's picking up on when she asks these questions, or at least in that specific area, because I haven't been able to get off, but I haven't almost not been motivated to like get there, because I don't know, that's just been something that's just been happening. I don't know if it's because being more on the spiritual path, I'm just kind of not as interested in, I don't know, climaxing, and it's not the goal, it's more just the connection. And I think because she senses that like disinterest for my own sense of not wanting to get there, she feels probably like let down in the beginning or from the start.
Well, it often is a problem, that whole idea where you're becoming more centered and less reactive, and therefore the hormones don't influence you as they used to.
I know, it kind of sucks.
And what do you do when you've got a partner that is still saying, "Hey, I'm still a sexual person"?
I mean, I still enjoy none of it's been like tedious or burdensome. It's still fun.
Yeah, but I think it's worthy of discussion to say, like many women will say, if they're honest, I don't need an orgasm. I enjoy just the being together enough. It's enough. And so you don't worry about me.
Yeah, and those words are worth saying, not just it being an unspoken.
No, those are good words. I get plenty out of this because orgasm is so advertised in the West especially that it's become a requirement.
But how do you get someone to buy those words when you say, like, because I have said, like, this is more than enough for me, but because of her own insecurities of not performing as good as she thinks she should be, she still feels like she could be doing more, different.
You can help her by saying that you are a lesbian, but you are one of those people who is also a woman, who and you are manifesting that feminine capacity, not to have the stars and whistles. That this is you being really you. This is you enjoying the process rather than the end result. Whereas she may enjoy the end result more, even though she enjoys the process, but she may enjoy the end result more. And let's get together on that.
These words just came to my mind, and I think, I don't know where this comes from within her, but I feel like she always says that she enjoys it like so much, and I turn her on a lot, but she almost feels like
she's cheating.
No, well, the way she phrases that is like, I feel like you're babying me, because I'm some sort of expert or know more or something, or
like you know more and you're babying her.
Yeah, because I put a lot of focus on her, and so she enjoys it, but I think what keeps her from fully enjoying it is that voice in the back of her mind that's kind of like, oh, I feel like a baby, I feel like I don't know what I'm doing.
Again, you got to talk that out and say, this is my delight, and that's your delight. I am enjoying more giving and more doing. You're enjoying more receiving. That's not just a way of sharing time and then taking turns. That's a pattern of my life and your life. I enjoy doing more than getting. I enjoy getting, you enjoy doing.
Now I've wondered, is that something I have to work on myself to learn to receive more, or is it okay to have that?
Absolutely okay. And to expand yourself, yes, you can learn to be more expansive, and that starts to get not so close to sexuality as it does to psychology. So it's all psychology, I know, but you are saying, I am enjoying this as me. If it were some other lover, it would be the same. I found you because it was appropriate to find you. The ego issues we have, the misunderstandings and the suspicions that you're not getting enough, or I'm getting too much, are all just the drama. They're all just us playing to the culture. So let's both back up and do what we like to do best. We're talking that out, I like to do this best. I like to pleasure maybe best. You like to receive pleasure best.
And being okay with that.
And being okay with that. You're going to get guilty because you've received a lot of pleasure from me. That's on you. That's your problem, not mine. My problem is I'm concerned because you may not be getting enough from me. And so that's my problem. Or whatever your problem would be, however you would look at it.
Well, I'm fine. I mean, I know I give enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you would have to say that, but the other problem, the converse problem would be this. But I don't have it. Because I'm convinced that I'm giving enough. If I were her, I'd say, yes, but if you're always giving and not getting, isn't that just a one-way street?
Yeah, because some people get pleasure off giving, of course, so if she feels like she can't give to me, that's her lack of pleasure.
Right. So if you're going to make any changes for her, you might say, well, I will try to learn how to receive more. That's a psychological problem for me.
I see. And that's everything laid out there. That's the whole map.
That's the whole map. That's it. And then you would practice it and remind each other over and over. You remind that this is just the way it is. This is who I am. And you may have illustrations that fit. When I was with so-and-so, I found that I was better at giving, and I liked it, and I liked that position. Is she very feminine?
More than me, but not very.
Not very feminine. Okay. So, it's possible to say, you know, we're playing these two roles, even though we're the same. Is she lesbian or bisexual?
Bisexual, because she has the male partner.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm. So you see, there's another dynamic. Would you say now from your discoveries, you are not bisexual, you're gay, you're a lesbian, or not?
From where I've done my introspection till now, I feel like I draw the line at I don't have the need to be sexual with any guy, but I can still connect on a like maybe friendly affection, like cuddling and stuff like that, but I don't think I ever want to date a guy.
I'm asking about being turned on by the male.
Yes, psychologically, but I think when I put it, like play it out, no.
No, okay. So would you, you've heard of the Kinsey scale?
Yeah, the one.
Where are you?
10 is, which one's which?
No,
again?
0 to 6.
Okay.
0, you are 100% heterosexual. 6, you are 100% lesbian.
So 5.
Okay. And that means that you can look, just as you said, you can look and say, but not really engage in it.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. So you would put yourself at a 5. Mm-hmm. Her?
She's had obviously way more experience with guys, very limited experience with girls. But with my experience with I've been with a lot of bisexual girls, she's been the most, I don't question her desire for the female form as I have with other bisexual girls. So.
Say it again?
That I don't like, so with some bisexual girls, I feel like when they're with me, that they feel that they're lacking or missing, like they miss the male in the sexual act, like being sexual with them. But with her, it doesn't feel like she's lacking anything. So I don't know where to put her.
Well, she would at least have a 3 and maybe a 2 or maybe a 4.
It's either 3 or 4.
3, 4.
Yeah. And that's just not because of her past experience, just because of the energy I get off from her. Yeah.
Okay.